Audit Committee meeting. Our board members are present. We have a pretty short agenda for the night. First item is review of the minutes from our last meeting on February 5th. Anyone have any comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, great. Item number 2 is the claims auditor reports. Those were included with the materials for tonight's meeting. Jim, I looked at them. I didn't see anything particularly troubling. I think we had maybe 5 new exceptions since the last time we reviewed these reports.
There are a few void and reissues and things like that. So, let's see that specific report. Yeah, the number of exceptions, it went from 8 to 13. The total amount went up about $2,000 to be 0.09% of what we've spent so far. We had just another issue on the multi-fund, which was miscommunication between BOCES and the districts. Exception, there's one for BSN Sports, one for can of soda, for meat, one for other meat. Colony Invitational, yeah, they're all sports connected.
Yeah, I can say it's a trend that we're seeing these sports items that come up as the last minute sectionals and other events that trigger these exceptions. And I know everyone's working hard to avoid them when you can be avoided. Okay, thanks, Jim. And then also attached to the meeting minutes was our current function level status document.
So you may have noticed a significant change in the encumbrances. That's because we put a payroll encumbrance and the benefits encumbrances on there to get us through the end of the year so that we have a good approximation of what we're spending through the end of the year. Not everything's in there, so you'll notice that the total amount is 28 million when it's budgeted for 30 million. We're probably going to be short of the 30 million, but more than the 28. So just to give you an idea. If there are any areas you want to review, I'd be happy to go through that. Otherwise, the information is there with the budget versus the expenses and expenses.
Yeah, the only, Tim, did you want to ask your question that you had sent to Jim?
Well, I had asked, and he corrected me on my math, so I appreciate that. But I was wondering, the one line item where we're reducing our expenses has to do with textbook and software.
So that is due to our finishing paying for wonders during this year. So that item comes off the books for next year. That's the only decrease we had generally. The other increases, I went through the list of them. I think everyone should have gotten the email. Basically, salaries go up by the contractual amounts. Our increases over the past 6 years with contractual and equipment has been basically deferred maintenance stuff. Everything else is pretty much inflated, just needing to get.
There's an ERS, TRS item that goes up pretty significantly, more than the rate.
So the problem with ERS, TRS is you can't just use the rate increase because the salaries go up as well.
Okay.
So that is a multiplying factor.
All right. I understand.
Could I ask a couple of questions? Sure. And you might have said this the last time Reggie asked you. I was just kind of reviewing things that seemed a little over budget and couldn't necessarily always remember why, even though I know you've told us.
Okay.
So if you could, like, line 1310, business administration.
So what I'm going to tell you there is whenever I can't find a place to put something that makes sense, I dump it in my line.
Okay.
So there are going to be items in there that maybe could have gone elsewhere, but it generally ends up in my line so that I can take care. There are other areas where it's a little over, like the health. That's partly because we just put in the encumbrance but we haven't taken any back when we actually made payments yet.
Mhm.
So there are adjustments that have to be made in that will end up under.
So the encumbrance is artificially high?
Right now, yes, because it was just when. So, pretty much everywhere else, it's roughly in line with what the budget is, or it's less than the budget. There are any items that you see?
Yeah, like, 1480, public information and services, the budget is
Yep.
66,000 and the expense and encumbrances is 92,000.
So we've had some changes this year to a number of things, including the ballot envelopes we're supposed to have. So that's a significant cost. It's also partly the BOCES service that we have. So we may need to look at that in the near future to adjust that a little.
Okay. And then maintenance of plant was way under.
Yeah.
Is that just because the encumbrances?
So maintenance of plant includes that 325,000 that we've used for deferred maintenance. We've used up approximately 150,000 of that so far, and still working on other items. So that's a significant part of the amount. Is there's still money left in that deferred maintenance?
Oh, okay. So it's not hitting our actuals because it's in the other fund.
No. It's there. We just don't have any encumbrance yet because we don't have a specific item with it.
Okay.
So
And
Oh, go ahead.
what's your rule for when you encumber?
I encumber when I am reasonably certain we are going to have an expense. So let me say it a little differently. I encumber when I believe there's the possibility of an expense. So if we have a service call coming out for Sonatrol or something, I'm going to put money aside for that. Might not be an expense, might be a warranty thing, but whenever I believe there's the potential for an expense, I'll put money on it.
And these are point in time, right?
Yeah.
They're
I was just trying to
changing
make sure I
probably.
understood.
Jim, like the cameras that we don't have quotes for yet, that we keep getting quote unquote. Is that encumbered right now?
It is not, because we don't have any information to encumber it on.
Correct. So part of the problem is that we have gotten 3 different quotes for the camera and we keep getting a change of personnel at the company and then we have to get a different quote, a different issue. So we're waiting still to get those, but that's a point of where a large amount of budget money that we know is going to go there will go to the cameras after we have to find them.
Yeah, no, I'm not catching.
No,
anything
I
wrong.
was-
I was just trying to.
No, I want to make
understand.
sure people understood that, like, there's one thing we've spoken about multiple times. Unfortunately, undue to our control and Neil's control, it's been out of our hands. We're just waiting on quotes, appropriate quotes, and we just are waiting to get that so we can.
And my very last one was the 2810 guidance. The budget is 371,000, and so far it covered expenses is 464,000.
Yeah, I think a couple of these are because of a payroll encumbrance being a little too high.
Okay.
Again, this is something new for my office to do because we've never done it in the past. So it's kind of hit and miss on whether or not it's going to be correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was all I had.
And last year's expense was 410, and that's an actual
Right.
fiscal year number, so really you might not be that far off.
No, and as you see for the budget for next year, it's been increased.
Goes back up. Yeah.
All right, anyone else have questions on that?
Yeah, just one was maintenance of plant
Yeah, that's the deferred maintenance items.
okay, gotcha, thank you. And then- Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Questions?
Yes.
I got them.
Okay, thanks, you got the one.
Great. All right, so let's move to item number 4, the school lunch fund profit and loss.
Okay, so we have a very interesting situation where in January, we were slightly to the good by, let's see the exact number, just a little under $1,800, which cut our deficit to a little over $900. Then in February, we were actually to the good by $1,160, which brought us to black by $240. Very unusual that late in the year to be in the black still. We'll have to see what happens going forward. But
Any projections on what the future holds?
I have a
That's your
couple.
crystal ball.
You get $240 to work with.
I have a couple problems because I'm still waiting for the state to look at the fund balance and tell us we're over, so that we have to spend money as we did last year.
Right.
So that would be approximately $50,000. And let's put it this way. I think we'll be anywhere between 20 and 80,000 under. That's about as close as I can get at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're in a good spot, I think, compared to other years where, I mean, we talked about this last year, this time we were expecting to move money into this line to cover deficit, so I think we're in good shape. Thanks to all those coffee drinkers.
Good job on that.
For once, it's not me subsidizing.
No, definitely. No.
2 or 3 a day, yes.
That might be.
You might, yeah.
Those smoothies get you every time.
Okay. All right, so our last item on the agenda is a discussion topic regarding payment system fees.
So we have My School Bucks, which handles the school store and all the cafeteria. We're upgrading the actual cafeteria software because there's been a disconnect between My School Bucks and it's not real time. We're going real time. So that's one thing that I did want to mention. So as you see, there are 2 different levels. If you use a credit card, it's $3.25 per transaction. So it's a significant amount unless you're putting $100, $200 on the account. Using an e-check, it's still $275, which is significant. School store is a fixed percentage, but for both of these, and this does cover both of them, there's an annual fee option. So that if you pay for one student $13 or the whole family $27, if you do the e-check, it's no additional cost because you've already paid the fee up front.
That's not currently active though, right?
It is.
It is?
That's my understanding.
I did that once years ago, and for the past many years, I've looked for that option and I've never found it. I did it once, like I think it was 5-6 years ago, and then it has since disappeared.
I will have to talk to Christy because she runs the whole thing, but
Yeah.
she gave me the breakdown on
And I've tried logging in on the web looking for it as well as the app.
it. Okay.
I didn't realize it was just if you use the e-check option.
I didn't know. So you have to have checking.
Yeah.
Some families might not. do
Or
it.
things like Zella or
Now, a little further on, we'll note that people can actually send in checks or cash or
Mhm.
money orders or whatever to pay directly and not have those fees. So, but I did want to go over what the fees are before we get into it.
Jim, can the kids pay at the lunchtime, or they have to use?
They can.
So
They
they
can
can bring
come in and
cash
say,
and pay for cash.
hey,
Here's
put
my
$50 on my account and then I'll use it for lunch or whatever.
So
You know, it depends on the parent if they trust their kids to
I've
do
done
that.
that before because I find the fees so propulsive.
Yes,
Yeah.
I try to avoid them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a word right now.
So payments that have gone through the system up to the 19th of March is a little under 300,000 on cafeteria payments and a little over 115,000 on school store payments. So the total paid through is almost $400,000.
So that's the funds that we've received, but have we calculated the fees?
Rough calculation is on the next page.
Okay, yeah.
So the school store amount, if you multiply it by the 4.95, maximum $6,000 in fees for that. If people are able to use the option, and I will check on that, it would be less. School lunch payments, because there's so many differing amounts and because we don't know how many transactions there are, we could get the information, but because I didn't know how many transactions there were, I couldn't really figure it out. So I approximated between 5,000 and 20,000. They're paid to Heartland Payment Systems, which is the vendor of my school bucks. None of this is received by the district at all. It is just a convenience fee. Currently, we don't have any money in the budget to pay for these fees. And parents can avoid the fees by sending in checks of cash with their students for them.
How many parents or how many families do choose that option? And how much money? So if we have let's say approximately 400,000 coming in for all of these costs through my school bucks, which is owned by Heartland, which is owned by Global Payments, which is like a $20 billion company. How many dollars are coming in envelopes and Backpack Express?
If you look at the cafeteria budget and the amount of payments coming in is approximately $400,000 per year. So most of it's coming in through the payment system.
So 75% is coming in through my school bucks.
At least, yes.
Okay.
Do we have the ability to negotiate those rates with Heartland? I mean, I've worked with Heartland before implementing payment systems, and businesses have the ability to negotiate their rates for the like credit card process.
We can ask, certainly, because it's actually, all these services are through NARIC. It's pretty much one size fits all.
So it is through.
Yeah. I can certainly ask my contact at NARIC to say, hey, is there any way we can talk to someone there?
I mean, $275 for an ACH transfer. I mean, ACH is free. I mean, credit cards, there's processing fees, but I mean, ACH is free.
But the other thing is that, I think Julie brought this to my attention, that there's an upper limit on how much if you wanted to, let's say, load up your kids' lunch money for the year, or their Java Hut and lunch money for the year, you can't go past this amount. So there is a cap on it. So you're going to get dinged with that $375 repeatedly, just because your kids can eat through
Per kid.
per kid.
Per school, because I have kids in different schools and I can't go on and shape for all of the transactions. So if the money were to come through from Backpack Express, kids just bring these in, is the school set up to handle that?
We are. We
And
receive
how
checks
much
every day.
time and money would that take though in terms of, depositing checks, making sure checks, they're made out to UCSD instead of, something else?
So we actually have check processing units on 3 desks in the business office. So those can run through fairly quickly when they're received and verified.
And cash is fine.
And cash is fine as well. So yes, it takes a little time, but it's not significant time if people decided to switch en masse to going to just checks.
If cash comes in and is given to like a teacher in an envelope, then what happens?
Well, generally, it would be expected to be given to one of the offices or directly in the cafeteria. I don't know about giving to a teacher. I can't really speak to that.
I don't know if that's a process at the elementary school or.
I don't know, it worries me if the staff members handling cash,
I don't
a
believe,
risk to them of,
well, I don't think that's a common practice.
okay.
You know, I haven't heard of anyone directing kids to hand it to their teachers. I don't know if it does happen.
Plus a parent, I
Yeah.
used to always be like, this is science, and then
Thank you.
I didn't know what happened after that.
When
Yeah.
my kids were in the elementary school, they were told to give the envelope to the cafeteria.
That's
Give
what
it
we,
right to them.
And that's what we've done as well.
Generally, the 2 points that we're going to receive the checks of cash are going to be in the cafeteria or directly in the business office, but that's usually retirees.
And could you remind us what goes through the school store, like play
So
tickets, sports?
play tickets, ski club, basically any event, the learn to swim program.
Education.
If there's an event that has a cost attached to it, it's generally going to be put through the school.
Except for yearbook, correct?
Yeah, not yearbook.
Yearbook used to be, now it's.
Yearbook, you pay the yearbook.
Like
School
Like-
pictures? No, school pictures, I think now we're starting to buy through the school picture person.
Field trips.
If I can't really speak to that because I don't think those would go on the school store. Those are more everyone collects together and sends it up, whoever the teacher is running. So now the Arts and Ed trip to New York City, the students portion goes through the school store.
So our cafeteria software, is that by Heartland/Global Payments, so we have to use that, and we have to use My School Bucks, so we're sort of linked into everything, and we can't.
We don't have to, but it makes the system run more smoothly because we've had, even with Heartland, we had a gap issue where it wouldn't jump the gap. So
But you can use alternative payment solutions with the cafeteria software that we have.
theoretically, yes, and with the accounting software that we have in the business office. Yes.
So does the district have like a PayPal or a Zelle or that model? Where people can-
I was just thinking.
We have not set one up just because of the tracking and application issues that would create. I would very much, I will need to have a very long discussion with Christy about that to understand what concern. I know I have my own concerns, but I'm sure she'd have more. So
There also end up being fees there when you're a business and you use them as a business.
Even if you're not.
So you- I don't know if you're a nonprofit, but
I don't think that matters.
no, they're processing something, they're going to get something out of it.
I mean, PayPal's by Braintree, which is big processing. I can't imagine they'll let tons, and they're not gonna let $400,000 flow there without taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's fees involved with payment systems, but it doesn't feel good to have a fee that seems too big.
Well, yeah, the one that it's,
It is too big.
especially for
Yeah.
ACH, the fee for.
I think it
It's
doesn't feel
a
right
consumption.
as a school
Insane.
district to be pushing some costs on families in addition to the cost for the item.
This is egregious and I send you cash.
What were you gonna say, Archie?
I was gonna say, I would ask, I mean, that we
It never
take
hurts.
a look at this
Yeah.
issue and see what we can do to minimize the fees, because I think to Rob's point, $3 for an ACH payment, which is free, like that's.
Oh, I agree, that didn't sound great when I saw it. So,
And 4.9% for the school store?
That's bonkers.
That, yeah,
I mean-
that's so worrisome.
And then there's sometimes, I
Seriously.
felt like that you're kind of forced to use it because it gives you first rights, let's say for a prom table. So the kids don't want to bring a check.
If there's.
But at a minimum, if you can see about the family plan or the,
I will check on that one immediately.
I think if families knew upfront.
Yeah.
But that's
I would have been
only
doing
if
that
you're
more for the
doing
past
it.
4 years, because that cost disappeared as far as I know.
I will ask Christy.
And see if it's a negotiated. That would be the other question, is are these rates negotiable?
And is it something that the district would want us looking at paying for the fees out of general fund or still continuing? Because that
Doesn't feel
was,
appropriate to me. But
okay, because I know that
That's
was
just
a
me.
It's a
conversation.
free option.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, it's not our, like, we're paying transaction fees for individuals feels, I don't know, very,
On the
Ask
credit
the
card
lawyers.
side, right, because I agree with you, but it shouldn't be anything more than what it would cost, right? And the transaction fees can be negotiable.
The issue, I think, what Jim was mentioning is we go through NARIC, right, Northeastern Regional Information Center. So they have all of the agreements, the MLGD, they go through all of our, they handle all of the things that I don't understand when it comes to technology, things that not people understand better. So NARIC does house that, so they do the agreement. So I agree with Jim. I'm not sure if without saying no to NARIC and going to another point and how that would work, like just working directly with the provider. I don't know if that's even an option, but I couldn't see NARIC saying, because they negotiate this for other schools, like all the schools that use My School Bucks, that if they use NARIC, goes through that one negotiating factor as well. So I haven't heard of different factors in different schools. It's
And-
something we'd have to look into.
The other part of it is going through generates BOCES. So if we were to get out of that because we need to negotiate the new rates, we lose aid.
So that was my next
So
question, is what
are
are
we
we actually?
Yeah, do we pay something?
Yeah.
We pay for that in addition to the
It's-
fees that are.
It's a software fee.
How much are we paying for this?
I have to look it up. It's-
I would like to know that.
All right, I think we've got another agenda item for our Julius, but we are out of time.
All right, yeah, sorry.
All right, this concludes the audit meeting. Thank you.
I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Review our audit.